So as promised, it's 5 p.m. in New York City, and we're going live talking about fat loss, okay? Which is a very much misunderstood topic. So it's very important to many people, but very few people know anything about it. So in today's video, I shall try to basically shed some light on the issue. So when it comes to fat loss, there's creams, workouts, fat loss cardio, fat loss foods, and this, that, the other. And obviously the question is, how does it work, right? What makes people lose fat? And so in the beginning, let's just look at the science. So basically what you have a fat cell that is 3 fatty molecules, 3 fatty acids for that matter, and 1 glycerol molecule. So now if you shiver, exercise, or do any of that sort, the body releases adrenaline, aka noradrenaline, and the fat cell gets broken open and the free fatty acids enter the bloodstream. And then they're being oxidized or burned off for energy. So if the person is in a calorie deficit, then the fat cell basically empties out and shrinks. So that's the baseline. So from there, you can see where I'm going. You need to have a caloric deficit. Otherwise, you can't lose fat. In order to achieve a caloric deficit, there are basically a few diets that actually work. So there's low carb, low fat, and the zone diet. So you take your body weight by 11, that would be your baseline caloric number. And from there on, you adjust. So times 11, let's say you weigh 200 pounds, that gives you 2,000 calories. And then you're putting your proteins at about 1 gram per pound of body weight. That gives you 200 grams of protein, aka 800 calories. And the rest you split evenly between carbs and fat. So how should you split it? Generally speaking, very generally, people who are above 20% body fat probably should use fewer carbohydrates. People who are leaner can go high in the carbohydrates. So the leaner you are, the better you will handle carbohydrates. So that's your nutritional baseline. Then how should you train? You should absolutely train with weights. That's the most important thing. Because training with weights will keep your muscle. Why is this important? Because that means your metabolism stays up, okay? Whereas if you do only cardio, your body will say, oh, I don't need all this muscle anymore, which is costing me energy, and I'm gonna get rid of it. So then you're losing all your muscle and you become skinny fat. And whenever you're done with your diet, you're just gonna be even heavier because your metabolism just dropped so much. So you train with weights as heavy as you can in good form, 8 to 12 reps. Then from there on, you can add in cardio as you see fit. So there's always a big debate, should you do high intensity cardio or low intensity cardio? So in a nutshell, they both work, okay? High intensity cardio is a tiny bit more effective, but it's also more taxing on the nervous system. So if you're already training with weights a lot and you maybe have a stressful job, then I would recommend maybe going low intensity, but both ways will get you to Rome, okay? So you can do high intensity, low intensity cardio, it doesn't matter. And then the question is, how should you space your meals? That doesn't really matter, okay? So the overall calories matter. It's like whether you eat, you don't have to eat every 3 hours, that's nonsense for fat loss, okay? If you eat 3 big meals, you get 3 big bumps, thermic effects from food. If you're eating 6 small meals, you're getting 6 smaller bumps. So the meal frequency depends directly on how many calories you're eating, okay? If you're dieting on 1,200 calories, you're probably only gonna eat 3 meals, that's plain simple, right? If you're dieting on a higher calorie rate, you probably can eat a little bit more. In terms of the food quality, that also is not that important. Your calories matter much more. I mean, obviously when you're dieting, you want to eat more filling foods. For instance, I wouldn't recommend drinking protein shakes during a diet just because they're not very filling. So I would go with real food sources just because of the stomach volume. So that's just my take. In terms of supplements, they don't work. I'm sorry. Like the fat burners, they're just like expensive caffeine tablets. So the fat burners actually really work. The other stuff's illegal. when it comes to fat loss, it's really a caloric deficit, and then you take care of your weights, and then from there on, you add cardio as you see fit. How much weight should you lose? Well, the old bro adage is still true, so like 1 pound to 2 pounds a week, depending on your size. So even very, very heavy people, they cannot lose more than that safely, simply because the math doesn't work out, okay? So if you're losing 2 pounds, you need to have a 7,000 calorie deficit for the week. That's already a lot, okay? So anything more, you're losing muscle mass. So you should be monitoring your strength during the diet, and if it drops more than 10-15%, you should probably up the carbohydrates for a couple of days and let the body rest and basically recoup. So you need to give yourself time. So you figure out how many pounds you want to lose, and you divide that number by 2, that's your weeks, right? So if you have 20 pounds to lose, that's 10 weeks at least, okay? Anything quicker, you're sacrificing muscle mass. So I realize that's not the most exciting message, but this is how fat loss works, okay? So fat loss, there's no fat loss training. Like all this circuit, Tabata, that's all bullshit, get out of your head. Training works to preserve the muscle, not to burn fat, okay? So next time you're buying a magazine that has like the coolest fat burning workout, that's bullshit, don't do it. Likewise, there are also no fat burning foods. That's completely retarded, okay? There are no negative calories. So when people say like, oh, asparagus has negative calories, like how would that even work, okay? That doesn't make any sense. So you figure out your calories, you figure out your workouts, you add cardio to that, and then over time you will get leaner. And that's all there is to it. That's all to fat loss, okay? Of course, there's, people use drugs and so on and so forth to enhance the process. That's everybody's choice, but that doesn't work. How long should you diet? Honestly, no longer than 3 months. And that's already a lot because you're really beating your body up. So at some point, the law of diminishing return kicks in. So if you diet for a very long time, like over 8 to 10 weeks, your body goes into survival mode, right? Which means your testosterone drops, your GH, growth hormone drops, and your cortisol goes up, and your irritability goes up, and you're just not getting anywhere anymore. So at this point, you're really like losing muscle mass and not losing much more fat. So I recommend you diet for, let's say, 4 to 5 weeks, take a week where you eat at maintenance, and then you repeat the process. Now, what to do after a diet? That's a good question. So people diet sometimes for an event, right? Let's say a bodybuilding show or a wedding or whatever, and then that show is over or they got married, and then they eat whatever they want. That's a recipe for disaster, my dear friends. So the problem is, like, I'm talking about natural athletes, so somebody who's not drug enhanced. A diet is really a famine. So if you're dieting and then the body's like, okay, I'm losing all this fat, I'm getting leaner, and there's not enough food, and then from one day to another there's plenty of food, the body says, oh, thank God, the famine is over, and he stuffs all the food. And no, he's not building muscle, he's gonna store the food in fat cells, okay? So after a prolonged diet, your body is primed for fat storage. So this is very hard to do. So let's say you achieve your look, like your summer look or whatever have you, right? From there on, you have to very, very gradually increase calories. By that I mean adding 5 grams of carbs a day for the first week, maybe 2 grams of fat, something around the lines of reverse dieting. And then gradually bring your metabolism up where you still stay lean and you can eat more food. So binge eating is a recipe for disaster. I mean, of course, let's say you had a big event and you won a bodybuilding show or whatever have you, and you want to have your cheeseburger with fries, yeah, sure, go for it, But then you really have to go back because otherwise you get fatter. The problem is also that the human eye is very deceptive. So the human eye cannot distinguish all that well between, let's say, 10 and 20% body fat. So somebody who just after diet keeps on eating and eating and eating, it's like, hey, I'm still jacked, and then all of a sudden he crosses that 18-20% body fat mark. He's like, whoa, I'm fat, I got fat last week. No, you didn't get fat last week, you got fat over the last 10 weeks, okay? So it's a bit of willpower, I get that, but you don't want to redo the process again, right? So basically, you should diet 4 weeks at a time, maybe 5, take a breather, 4 weeks at a time, and so on and so forth, until you reach your goal. you reach your goal, you slowly retrace your steps, okay? Training, train each body part at least twice a week, good form, good execution, all that kind of thing. Cardio, like I said, it's up to you, whatever works for you, you can put in. Sleep well. Supplements, like I said, the one supplement that has some fat-burning properties, that's obviously caffeine, Then there's your hinbean, and after that it gets already very, very fishy. And the rest is just really plain hard work, guys, okay? So thank you for watching. Maik out.